Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to start to install the Proma150 torch height controller into my Hypotherm 45 XP. We're going to start with getting the 45 XP opened up so we can install this thing. It's not going to go on the inside of it. There's no room. They make these things so small and light. It has to go outside, but it has to stay as close as possible to the machine. You got two screws in the handle. Take them completely out. Sometimes you got to kind of pull up on it or move them a little bit. I've already got them out, but you got to get them completely screwed out. You'll think they're out or loose, but they're not. You got to take them completely out. Then on the bottom, on the plastic side pieces, one screw right in the middle, right in the center of each side. That are these in the bottom. These are in the top. And I took the lock nut off the back of the water separator that comes on the torch, just for a little bit of play. It shouldn't really need to come off, but Wi-Fi'd it. Then you got to pry just a little bit. I'm not taking it off the bottom. Just pry enough to get that pulled out. The other side will pull out. Then you need to separate it off of the sheet metal and getting it up. I kind of use my fingers and put them in the fan grate, because you do need to pull out on it, because you can hear it. It's going to rub against the plastic shroud for the fan. Basically just two holes, a couple plastic clips here and here, and then the ground. Now you need to turn it around. You need to get to this side of it. I even took the nut off the wire harness just to let this move just a little bit. Alright, let me get my Kennedy box up here, because I'm going to lean it over on it. I picked this up, actually it was given to me, so I keep all my electrical stuff in it. So I'm going to need to lean this over on it. And then you'll have a protective shield here, and that'll need to come up and off out of the way. Now you could, if you're going to get a table, you could just go ahead and tell them it's for a CNC table, and you can order your 45 or your 65 or your 85. You can order those with the pin connector for CNC, but it's going to cost you quite a bit more for that option. The 45 XP is around $1,600 in tax. I think it's probably around $2,300-$2,400 if you want it with the CNC harness. And all it is a harness, and we're going to hook this up to where their harness goes. It's just cable management and stuff like that. You know, you got to kind of deal with that and what it's going to look like, versus just having a pin connection and calling it done and running that cable to your controller on your table. But like I said, this has to be as close as you can get to your machine. You see it down here in the very bottom. Actually, I got to move this out of the way. You'll see these two ports, or these two screw holes. Got your raw arc voltage. That's your positive, and then you'll have a negative over here. So that's, I wasn't aware of until I opened it up, but I gotta go get 2 M20 screws to put in there. But I think I have some old computers I might be able to rob some screws out of. So I'll do that, but then if you can see it, kind of hard to see. Yeah, right there and there, and that'll go in. Positive is right here on this side, negative over here. And that's the only 2 wires that come out of this machine that go into here. And then everything else will go to your controller on your table. Okay, right here on the back, I took out the plug where the electrical pin connector would go from Hypotherm, and I drilled 2 holes in it. I used 11/64 for 12 gauge wire. Just drilled 2 holes. I mean, it fits pretty snug. So I just didn't want to run wires through a hole and let dust and whatnot get in it. So I'm just kind of going to take a guess, and then I'll adjust it and run another wire. I'm going to put an eyelet connector on it and hook them into the board. Okay, I got the wires down. They're in there on eyelets, or whatever you want to call them, terminals, connectors, and routed down in the bottom with the rest of the wires all the way up back in through here and out the side. I did take a piece of shrink wrap tubing. I just used the same color, brown, but then I put a piece of shrink wrap on my positive so I know which one it is. So now we'll just get this thing buttoned back up and set it back up on the shelf, and I'll run the wires to the box. Down over the fan shroud, like so. Back up to tuck it in. And these are Torx. Got this little Torx wrench from my grandson for Christmas about a year ago or so. It's like one of those Secret Santa or little Santa shops they have in the school. They go down there and spend a couple dollars. But kind of neat. It's adjustable. Locks in wherever you want to use it. Kind of nifty. And it also ratchets. You can turn the... Pretty neat. Come in handy quite a few times. That's just some cheap Chinesium set, but very thoughtful. Okay, we'll get this back up on the shelf and run these wires through the box. Yeah, I didn't realize I had my fan on. It was feeling pretty good in here. The AC works great, but you turn the fan on to move everything around and it's even better. Okay, this is gonna be a pain in the butt. This wasn't that hard. Plug the torch back in. Plug the ground clamp back in. I gotta do something with all these wires for the torch sensor. I'm probably gonna some kind of conduit or something that goes down the wall, because this cable management here is kind of looks like crap. I'm about drilling a hole because I need to come in. Stuff up out of the way. Run the red wire through first. Let's see which way. Okay. Red wire on the left side. Or the positive. Ground on the left. And I'm not using the wire spots given in the panel. I drilled the hole in the back of them. Okay, this is the test mode. It's just going up and down. What you do is you hold both of these buttons in at the same time, and it goes through some checks. You hold it for like 3 or 4 seconds and it'll go into test mode. going up and down as it should. All right, I went ahead and ran the wiring and all that because I figured I had to get on the phone and call the guy. But probably all systems are going to be different. And this is still analog with serial ports and stuff like that. So if you're setting up a system that's all USB or something like that, a little more modern, you're probably going to have a lot more problems. But anyways, that's another story between the two tables. So, but yeah, I gotta make a cover for this. I tried cutting one of those plastic things. I went through 2 of them and kept breaking them, so I got just some tape on it right now. But the power supply, it's actually a power supply from an old printer that I had. You need anywhere from 7 to 35 volts. This one here was a 30 volt, yeah, 30 volt, and that's why I usually never throw anything away. So I got the power supply off of it. I have a 10-year-old printer. We actually still used it, but I bought a new one. But anyway, yeah, that's from a printer. It's run up into here, and then I got the 3 wires. You got your up and down and your common coming off the bottom, and it runs down into the back of the panel and hooks into the board that's in the that runs all the steppers, and it just hooks into the up and the down and a neutral off of the neutral's on the power supply, and then the up and down is on the board, the controller for the steppers. So once I did it and he walked me through it, I was like, well, okay, that was easy. I just didn't want to do something wrong or wire something backwards and fry that thing. I mean, like I said before, you know, you can get your plasma cutter already with the wire harness or the pin connection for CNC. You know, but it's going to cost you quite a bit more. This thing was still $300, plus my time of wiring it up. You know, it took me a half a day, you know, basically rounding stuff up, and still, yeah, it was still cheaper. And they say this is actually better than the way you hook it up than the way they hook the harness in there on the board, because where I have it hooked up, I'm getting the full amperage of what it puts out. Forget what it's called now, but that was 4 hours ago. Not too big. I measured this, or made it in AutoCAD, measured it out into thousandths, and added a couple thou, and then it fit really tight. And I just rubbed it with a file. Basically, it was the corners. I had to square up the corners. Boy, they make these screws long enough. Kind of neat.